Okay, hello everyone. I am so excited for you all that have jumped on to listen. Um, I'm going to introduce our first one. It's going to be Emily. But first, before she gets started, I just have to say that if you're new to Plexus, or if you're like somebody invited me here, I don't know what I'm doing, just checking this out, or you've never heard these girls talk or you've never been on a Zoom call like this, I know for a fact that these three ladies have been a little nervous to share. They don't share a lot, or they haven't done a lot of these calls. So just know that this isn't something that like they're totally like scripted on. This is total real life. They're just going to share their hearts and their stories and how much these products have benefited them. So Emily, let's let you begin.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. I thought you were going to share a little bit of your story, so I was going to say how much I appreciate you and your story and how you have really inspired me to keep going on the journey of Plexus. You just have an amazing story, so I hope that if you haven't heard Lacey's story, that you can one day. So I wanted to welcome everyone to, my name is Emily, and I have been on this journey with Plexus for about 7 months. So I remember being on a call just like this one about 7 months ago when I just started out, and I was so inspired just by the stories that I heard that night. It was I had just ordered my product, so I was had not experienced any of my own results yet, and it really kept me hopeful that this could change things for me. My dog is trying to jump up on the chair that my computer is sitting on, so I'm like trying to prevent him from doing that. But I live in North Dakota. Zeke, you better not do that. I'm gonna grab my computer. But I live in North Dakota. You can kind of see what it's like out here. We have just an abundance of snow. Like there is no spring in North Dakota right now. We are in a never-ending winter. So I'm going stir crazy. It is so bad. I have a husband. His name is Keaton. We have been married for about 7 years, and we have a daughter, Easton. She's 4, and Graham. He is almost 2, and then we have a baby boy due in August. So any boy mamas, I could use some advice. I don't even know how to handle my own one boy right now. My dog is decorated with marker from him coloring on him today. So that's the life of a boy mom. But I wanted to share a little bit about how I first heard about Plexus. So my friend Brianna was starting to share at the beginning of 2022, and she was just raving about these natural supplements that she was taking, how they were giving her this natural energy, that she had energy to last throughout the day. She was also in education, just like me. And so fellow educators out there, you know what it's like to go a full day at school and have to come home and raise a family. It is not an easy thing to do. And so just hearing her story about how she had this natural energy, she wasn't falling asleep at her desk anymore. She was sleeping throughout the night, not restless. It really inspired me. But I was also kind of just had accepted the fact that I was exhausted. I knew that that was what I was getting into, being a mom and an educator. And so I really didn't think that these supplements were for me. And so I just kind of kept watching her share her story on Facebook. And so a couple months later, she had reached out personally to me and just asked if I wanted to learn more. And at that time, I was not interested. I just didn't have any interest in the whole network marketing thing. I thought it was just not for me. And so I was just not comfortable supporting people who were in it either, which is really sad because now I have a whole different take on that. But I ignored her first message and didn't think much about it, just kept watching her stories. And so then when we got to summer, I had decided to step away from education and stay at home with my babies. And I quickly realized that being a stay-at-home mom is not an easy thing to do. I actually realized it was a lot harder than teaching, and I was a lot more exhausted being at home with my kids who were little Energizer bunnies. And so I was a little bit more receptive to these supplements that she was talking about. So she reached out again, and at that time, we were on a or my husband was the only income that we had. He had just purchased a business in South Dakota, and so we were not in any position to be spending extra money. So I told that to Brianna right away. I said, I would love to hear your story, but I am on a tight budget and I don't know if these are going to be something that I can make work. And so she was very understanding of that. And she just shared her story very genuinely. She just told me how these products were helping her. She tagged me in a few stories of other women who were just like me, and how Plexus had helped them. And it really solidified that this was something that I needed to try. So I jumped in very skeptically. I'm sure, just like many of you who are hearing about products for the first time, you are not sure about, if they're going to work for you. And so I wasn't sure if this was something that I would stick with, but I wanted to give it a try. So I started with the Triplex. It's our foundational gut health system. And so I was hopeful, but also gave myself a timeline of about 3 to 4 months was what I was going to give it. And if it wasn't going to help me, I was going to be done. Because I don't want to, spend money on something that is not working for me. So about 2 months in, I started noticing some small changes. I noticed that I was having more energy. I'm very much a morning person, and I do not like to stay up late at night. And so I would typically go to bed with my kids around 8 o'clock every night. Sometimes I would have enough energy to stay up till like 9:30, but that was very rare. And so my husband, he is a night owl, and he wanted to have time with me at night. He wanted to talk about our day and just hang out together. And I felt bad because I'd never really had the energy to do that until I was 2 months into Plexus, where I was able to jump out of bed after tucking my kids in and spend that time with him. And so that really has helped our marriage, just being able to stay up together and debrief and not have kids jumping on us. So that was the first thing I noticed. I also noticed I was sleeping better. I wasn't waking up with typical aches and pains that I had before. I wasn't restless, and so I was waking up fully rested, which was a huge blessing. So especially as a stay-at-home mom, you have to get up and you have to make them breakfast and get them dressed and everything. And so it was really nice having that energy to do that. I also noticed that I wasn't craving sugar as much as I had before. I was a big latte girl. I loved going and getting my lattes from coffee shops. And I noticed that I had no desire. Like I was not, like when I passed the coffee shop, I didn't even have the desire to go stop and get something. So that was huge for our bank account. And it was just huge for me not having those sugar cravings anymore. But the biggest change that I noticed and that I'm still so grateful for is that I no longer deal with migraines. I was getting a migraine at least once a week. And that was not fun when I was teaching because I would have to leave school midday and have to find a sub really fast because I was just in such pain. I could not even look, or I had to keep the lights off because I couldn't even have the light shining through. And my kids were having to be quiet. My students were having to be quiet because it was just so painful. So that in itself is why I stayed with Plexus. And that's why I will continue to stay, is because that took so much of my of my life and my energy, just having to deal with those migraines so often. So I love how these products get to the root issues. I love that this is not a Band-Aid or a quick fix that will last just a little while. This is truly getting to the root of gut health. So if you feel like you have tried everything, if you feel like you are eating healthy and working out and being consistent with a healthy, just a healthy diet, this might be something that is the answer to symptoms that you are still dealing with. So with that, I am going to pass it on to Courtney.
Hi, everybody. My name is Courtney, and I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. So we're kind of having snowy winter like y'all in North Dakota are also. I'm also single parenting tonight, so you might hear or see my little guy in the background. So don't mind that. He's crazy, and good luck with the two boys, Emily, because if you can see behind me, there's like drawings all over my wall and all kinds of fun stuff. But you know that whole boy life. But I started on Plexus almost 2 years ago now, actually, last month, which is absolutely insane to me because I'm one of those people that like start something and I never finish it. It's just my personality. And obviously I've been working on that now that I've found something that I can stick with consistently, but I've just been one of those people that's like tried every diet and tried every fad and, started this and started that, just never really put everything into it. So when I first started Plexus, I was 3 months postpartum with my son. And I started to lose weight. And that was it. That was the only thing that was on my mind. I had a million other problems, but I just chalked them up to that was just me. That was just normal for me. And I just needed to lose weight. And I was going to give it 3 months and I was going to cancel my subscription because it wasn't going to work, or it was going to work for a little bit. And then I was just going to gain it back like everything else. So I signed up. I started with the triplex. And the first things that I noticed, probably like most people, was the energy, being postpartum and having a 3-year-old son, being up in the middle of the night. I was working full time also. The energy, I had the energy to do my workouts. I had the energy to take them outside and go for walks. I was also a Diet Mountain Dew drinker. I lived off that. I drank them my whole pregnancy, which I am absolutely not proud of. But it was just something like I felt that I needed to get through the day. About a month in, I realized I went a whole day without a Diet Mountain Dew, and I thought, wow, that's crazy. I would have never thought I could go a day without it, and I didn't even think about it. And so now it's been almost 2 years, and I don't even remember the last time I had a Diet Mountain Dew. And honestly, I think the last time I did have a sip of one, it was so gross. I thought I couldn't imagine how I drank that every day, but I just needed that extra caffeine to just get through the day. I work full time. I work from home. So even before kids, I would sleep on my lunch break. I would sleep after work. I was just always needed that nap to get through the day. And then of course you add a kid onto it, and then it's just like, well, yeah, I'm a mom, I need a nap, of course I need a nap. It just became that chalk it up to a new mom thing. So I hardly ever need naps anymore. If he does take a nap, which are becoming more rare and rare these days, but I'm able to get things done. I'm able to get my workouts done. I'm able to get my house cleaned. So that was like the big thing that I noticed in the first, few months. I did lose some weight. The scale didn't really move much the first few months, 2-3 months, but I could notice, like, when I would see pictures of myself, my face was thinner and people started asking, and I'm like, no, the scale hasn't moved, or maybe it was like 1 or 2 pounds, but the inflammation that I could see, even when I look back on pictures now, I mean, it's just incredible. My rings fit better, my shoes fit better. Another thing that I had suffered really badly with was plantar fasciitis. And so that really hindered my workouts. And so that obviously hindered my weight loss. Also, I had to be like fitted for special orthotics that went into shoes that were not very cute. So that was like, I felt like I couldn't really like dress up because I literally couldn't walk if I didn't have these orthotics. I wore them like around my house. I couldn't go barefoot. So after about 3 months of being on the triplex, I noticed that I didn't have that pain at all anymore. And I don't suffer with plantar fasciitis at all anymore. I threw my orthotics away probably a year ago. I don't need them when I work out. I don't need them when I go for walks. I don't use them at all anymore. And I don't ever have any pain. So that was another huge win for me. And that just goes to show too, like the inflammation, even in your feet. I went down a half a shoe size because of the inflammation in my feet. And yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I wrote some notes down so I don't take all your guys' night because I could talk all day. Another big thing that I had noticed, I've always had really, really sensitive skin. I had to really be careful with like body washes, shampoos, conditioners, deodorants, lotions, anything like that. Anything would cause me to break out. I would have like a rash or a breakout somewhere on my body, literally more than once a month. When I would get them, even after maybe I changed whatever I thought was causing the issue, I would have to be put on like a round of steroids to get rid of it. And if anybody on here has ever had to deal with steroids or steroid creams, it's definitely not fun. So I was on steroids probably once a month, once every 6 weeks, because of skin issues. And really bad like scalp psoriasis. I was on all kinds of different like medicated shampoos. I tried every like home remedy. I went to all kinds of different doctors and nobody could really tell me what was causing it. It was just like, well, trial and error, figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And ultimately I couldn't figure it out. It was just, I just constantly was having breakouts from who even knows what. But the steroids were obviously they're not good for you to be taking that often. And so I felt like I was going backwards every time I would make a little bit of progress with something, I would have to go back on steroids. And so when I first started the triplex, I had a skin breakout the first and second month. The third month, I had a very mild skin breakout, didn't require any steroids or anything to get rid of it. And I have not had, since that third month, I haven't had any skin breakouts. My scalp psoriasis is pretty much completely gone. I do get some like dry spots on my scalp every once in a while, but they're not like inflamed and itchy and, irritating like they were before. So that was a super huge win for me. And these were things that I never even contemplated Plexus helping with. Like I said, I had only started for weight loss. So these were major wins in my book. And one last thing that I'll talk about that really helped me was I added ease about a year after I started the triplex. And when I started the triplex, I did notice that my monthly cycles, I always had excruciating, irregular, heavy menstrual cycles, like to the point where I would have to call into work. I would miss events. I would try to make sure I wasn't doing anything fun around the time that was supposed to come because I didn't want to miss out on things. And so through the months of being consistent, I did notice that was getting lighter. And, I still had, the cramps and the back pain the first couple days, but it wasn't something that kept me in bed all day or 2 or 3 days at a time. I was a much nicer person. You could probably ask my husband, he would agree with that. During that time, because I wasn't, miserable, I added the ease in, and I literally have almost 0 symptoms of my monthly cycle. Like I won't know that it's coming, where before I would have symptoms 2 to 3 days before, and then I would have my cycle for a whole week. Sorry, you can probably hear my child in the background. But those are much more manageable on time every month, and I do not have that excruciating pain that keeps me in bed all day. So super major win for me. But those are the highlights of my health story with Plexus. So I will turn it over to next, and I think that's Vikki.
Hello. I've never heard Emily or Courtney's story, so thank you both for sharing. I love all of your wins. A little crazy about your shoe size dropping. That's kind of mind-blowing. But I'm Vikki K, 32-year-old single mama in Arkansas, registered nurse for going on year 9. My history with Plexus is kind of up and down. I originally ordered the products about a month after I had my little boy in 2019. So boy mom here too. But I didn't take them. Actually, I threw them away. Like I didn't have time. I was busy, new mom, things were crazy. I ended up throwing them away. I ordered again, I think in June 2020, and just kind of used them sporadically but never really was consistent. In January of 2021, I was at my yearly PCP appointment, doing all the things, lab work, your yearly checkup. My A1C was elevated, pre-diabetic, and my blood pressure was through the roof. And basically, my doctor was like, you've got to do something. I'm going to put you on medication. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm not taking anything. Won't do it. So she looked at me, she said, fine, you have 3 months to show me that you can change something and make these numbers come down, which I looked at her like she was crazy. 3 months, excuse me. And my face must have said it too. So a little backstory for those that don't know, during that time I ordered products the first time through June of 2020, I had gotten out of an abusive marriage, was a single mom and learning how to do life completely differently than what I had planned. And so I was like, you want me to do what in 3 months? No, ma'am. She looked at me and she was like, life's hard, life's stressful. You've been through a lot. And she started asking me questions, and my primary and I are pretty close. And she was like, are you and Tucker safe? I was like, well, yeah, we're good now. She said, okay, then it's time you start living and start surviving. And that statement has lived with me because it was kind of a mind blowing, like, enough is enough. Like, you are your only kid's parent. And in this time you make changes so that you can be his parent. Tucker deserved the best me and I deserve the best me. So I started the products consistently in January of 2021. At my 3-month checkup, my numbers were better. I was probably down 15 to 20 pounds. And she's like, your blood pressure is not exactly where we want it. Your A1C is still tad high, so just keep up with whatever you're doing. By my next appointment, it was somewhere in November, I had lost 40 pounds and all of my numbers were perfect. I no longer was pre-diabetic. I was no longer hypertensive or elevated blood pressure. She was like, okay, you're good. I kept at it. It's not something that was easy. I have been down a total of 70 plus, almost 80 pounds from January of 2021 to March 22nd, and have here a year later, not regained any of it. My blood pressure is normal. My A1C is number. My cholesterol was down this last visit, so there's another plus. But more than the weight loss, I was surprised at the other health and life changes that it brought. I no longer dealt with restless sleep. I no longer dealt with sugar cravings. Hold on, baby. Sorry, my little one just blew me a kiss. This is encouraging me here. I no longer had crazy mood swings or irregular bowels. But my favorite part of that, like, of losing the weight and seeing all the changes, was that as a nurse, I didn't even realize what the gut health and brain axis, what that exactly meant, or how your gut could affect your brain. And as I learned more about it and worked on healing my gut, my PTSD symptoms and anxious thoughts were gone. I'm no longer on antidepressants. I'm no longer on anxiety medication. Actually, I take no medication other than Plexus at this point. Like, Plexus products are the real deal. It didn't happen overnight. It took me a year and some months to lose 70 pounds. I did eat healthy. I drank my water. People always ask me, did you exercise? For the first 30 to 40 pounds, no, I did not. I will tell you, I did not. Adding in those life changes were hard enough to stick to. So nor did I feel like I had the energy when I was those 30 and 40 pounds heavier. I do exercise now. I actually find it very stress relieving, but I did not. So, I mean, you can see changes, but you are going to have to eat healthy, drink your water, do some of the things, help them out. I had periods where I stalled, but the one thing that I can say is, like, I never stopped my products. From January of 2021, I've never stopped them. Consistency is the key. You'll have moments of where things just kind of feel like they're not changing, and then you'll see something else. And there was a lot of times where, like, I was seeing scale changes, but, like, I never noticed that my restless sleep improved or my energy improved until someone was listing, like, my energy's this, my mood swings are better. I'm like, oh, okay. So like when listening to everyone else's stories, I was like, there's been a lot more than just 70 pounds shed. There's been a lot more life changes. So I think those of you who are not on the products that are on that borderline, I can promise you, if you take them consistently, you will see whatever changes that may look like for you. It's different for everyone. The timeline's different for everyone. But you will see changes, and probably more than what you're starting it for, just like these girls. So yeah, I guess quick, what I took triplex. That was it for the first 6 to 8 months. I added in MetaBurn and Active around the 6 to 8 month mark because I'd kind of stalled. And then I think when I hit about a year, I added in Block and Ease. And I used Block for like margarita and Mexican nights is kind of what I tell people. Just that extra little help there so you don't hold on to all of that. But yeah, that's me. That's my story. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And I'm going to turn it back over to Lacey.
Yeah, you guys, these stories are so incredible. And I did not know Courtney lost half her shoe size. That's awesome. You guys have incredible changes. I'll share just quick a little bit about me. So I actually started the products for my son, who was 5 at the time. He was a special needs guy. He had cerebral palsy, lots of challenges, feeding tube, tracheostomy, but he couldn't poop without help. So Miralax was everyone's go-to. And I felt like I needed to give him a lot, like to the point where it was like taking away from his caloric, like the amount we could give him in calories, and he needed to gain weight. But he was also vomiting because he had acid reflux too, because he was so premature. It's very common in preemie babies. So of course, when you can't keep your feedings in, you can't gain weight, like you don't keep your calories. So I started the triplex with him. We shared that package because I was like, well, he's nonverbal and can't tell me anything. And I was very skeptical and was like, I don't know what this is really doing with him. But I also knew that they were natural and I wasn't worried it was going to harm him. I knew that if it didn't help him, it wasn't going to hurt him. So why not? I'm also a PT by day. And so I think just some of my background knowledge, but also lack of background knowledge of gut health, like Vikki kind of talked about, like we're not really taught in school anything about gut health, and especially the nursing field. I mean, I feel like that should be something that it is a little bit more. But anyway, my son within 2 months was pooping like clockwork. We also noticed that his vomiting, it was almost like overnight, like it just like stopped. And I actually remember telling my husband, I was like, I haven't changed his bedding in like 4 days, which was insane because that was kind of a daily thing where I would have to wash his sheets because he would vomit early in the morning or overnight sometime. And that was huge for us because that was, I mean, I know life-changing sounds so cliche, but it was really starting to affect, like we weren't going places, especially around meal times, or one of us would stay home with them and take the other couple kids somewhere. And so it was really affecting our family life. And so, I mean, he did great. Over 3 years of taking the products. We haven't had, like, he never went backwards. I will say he went to a special needs summer camp for 1 week. And I forgot to send his Plexus. And I was like, oh, he'll be fine. It's only like 4 or 5 days. We've been on these products for like 2 years. He'll be fine. Day 2, they called me and said, he's puking all the time. And like, what do you want us to do? And so even the director of the camp is actually a really good family friend of ours. And she also takes Plexus products, and she had a lot of extra of her Slim pink drink. And so she's like, can I just give that to him? And I'm like, yeah, if you're okay sharing your products. I feel terrible. I forgot to pack them. But like, it was such, she even said on the phone, she's like, Lacey, this is a testament to these actually working. And I'm like, I know, I see it every day. Like, it's insane how much they helped so much. But anyway, I ended up also losing 25 pounds, and I've maintained that with little help. I mean, I like to work out because I feel good. Do I do it as intense or even as many days as I used to? No, like I'm lucky if I get 2 or 3 workouts in a week. But it's definitely helped with, my husband also mentioned like mood, like Courtney kind of mentioned. My mood was so much better. My husband made comments about how I'm a little bit nicer. But I noticed I wasn't yelling. I wasn't freaking out at my kids as much. My energy was so much better. And I also did not need the Dr. Pepper every day. I actually remember a couple instances of treating patients in the clinic, and I'd have them laying on the table and I was like working on their neck or something. So I was kind of holding their head in my hands, and you guys, I was dozing off like insane. And I haven't had that anymore. Like I don't get that afternoon after lunch, I don't know, low where I just feel like I need a nap. I'm not a napper. So it's just insane how I think these products, they can be for any age. I mean, there's just such a wide range of things that they can help, and age ranges too. But we definitely, just kind of how Vikki K said too, like she went into like surviving. Like that's how we were with Eli too. We went from just being very like tough life, hard to do anything, go out with him, especially around meal times, to we could do stuff. We could feed him faster. We could feed him more. He gained weight. His dietitian was like, I still remember her face when I wheeled him in like 6 months after being on the products. And she was just like, what are you doing? Like he's filling out and he looks so good. So I think it's just awesome how there's so many different things that gut health can affect. But if you guys have questions, please reach out to the person that invited you here, because we'd love to answer more questions. And I'm really glad that you guys could all hop on and join us. So we'll let everybody get on with their night. Thanks a lot, guys.